Welcome to the Geniuses of Copywriting podcast, a peek into the minds and strategies of the world's greatest copywriters, marketers, and persuasion experts. And now, here's your host, Brian Casangina.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Geniuses of Copywriting podcast. We've in for a real treat today because I've got a good friend of mine, Laurie Haller, who is going to take us through some really interesting aspects of copy as it relates to design. Because as we know, it's for many years we've actually relied on outdated designs, especially online, and that's been working. But to Laurie, I really appreciate you coming on the call and sharing this stuff with us today, because it's an interesting one that's really gathering momentum. So please. Thank you for having me on this call, and let's get right into this.
Yeah, that sounds good, Brian, and thanks for having me on the call. I enjoyed meeting with you when I was over in Kuala Lumpur after meeting with some of my clients in Singapore, and David and I came over and shared the day together and some ideas, and that's when I think things started brewing between us, just in talking about the relationship and importance of the marriage of copy and design together, just really, really important. So just my background, maybe that's helpful for you, Brian, to kind of know. So I knew what I wanted to do in high school. I was lucky enough to get a gig with my good grades in order to go to a free paid junior college during high school for design, commercial arts, marketing, and then I went to a variety of colleges for design, typography, marketing, all those types of things that you need, and then just worked my way through the top companies in Washington, D.C., learning under the masters that I could find there. I would seek them out, and so I was very excited about that whole journey. So at the beginning, you probably know this already, but this is where the difference or the change came in. So I was loving just that design for design's sake that I was doing.
Yeah.
High-end jewelers, Cadillac, Black Star and Frost, all the Hyatt hotels, high-end, luxury items. But then once people started feeding me projects where they would report back during the weekly meeting or whatever, hey, Laurie, that new design you did, gosh, that increased attendees by 5,000, people this year. What's going on with that? Or, hey, Laurie, that ad you did, I saw that you did that twist, or you did a test, or boy, that is really working. We're going to do that again. So that got my, hair on the back of my neck standing up. For some reason, that made me excited. So, I've spent from that day until now investigating how I can get really intimate with the product, the audience, the copy, the offer, using psychological behavior, science, technology, that hard-hitting copy properly done, the design, the colors, all of those things formulated properly, right cart page, right order page, whatever it is, to get their response and to make them say yes. That has just been my number one goal all these years. And I'm really excited to say that I just love every single day,
Well, that's important too. But what listeners to this show will really be interested in is, what you mentioned a few times is about the results that you're getting from this, because we have seen typically the battle between direct response on one side and, branding on the other side, and the branding is about the imagery and the presentation and everything. Whereas, the direct response stuff that we've been using, especially over the last few years in the internet world, has been what we've relied on. But and as it happens, as I record this, speaking at an event in Europe with people like John Carlton and that, but the sales page for that is, while it looks reasonable, it's still just that basic sort of direct response layout, which definitely works. But the question I have for you, Laurie, is, how far along are we moving, to a place where, the design matters just as much as the copy, if not more. And how are the days of those old plain designs online, are they over, or are they still got some life in them?
Yeah, in answer to that last question, we have been doing some very serious and deep dive testing, both in health, beauty, finance, and investing, online and off. Right now, there are some products, and maybe in the investment world, for example, gurus or investment guru and services and offers online that are still requiring a very simplistic approach, more like a main basic bold Helvetica headline and
Yeah.
this look for that, in a simple cart page. But underlying all that, I must underline and bold that even if it is simplistic and it's winning, it's done mindfully. And with that, I mean, when I go into a project like this, I will do what I have formulated, for 30 years, and that is my 3-step copy review. So I read the copy in a certain way that I've figured out works best, and that is stepping in the shoes of the reader. You become the reader. I also read it just to read and make sure I understand everything. I make a printout of it. I read it. I find hot spots that excite me, cold spots that, I don't want to read anymore, words that stick out, maybe repetitive words, things that I don't understand. They're on too high of a level. And then becoming that reader. And then lastly, the third way is just reading it with my marketing eyes and making sure everything is aligned with the style of copy and, again, speaking properly to my readers. So that's the first thing I do. So no matter what it is, whether it's online, and I'm going to do something very simple because I realize that that's what resonates with that, audience, or whether it's print, I understand the copy and I work with the copywriter and the client and make sure that I really am on point with how I project the words. So, yeah, you are absolutely right. Some stodgy, understated, plain campaigns are winning. I also have, medium level, solid headline, a nice visual on the top, an eyebrow, a ticker timer, countdown, always, on this particular style. Visuals always down the right hand edge. There's many little, maybe 10 or 15 best practices that in my agency we know works. So, there are more elaborate ones even that are working with videos, movable GIF, photo, visuals. It just depends. So you don't just randomly say it's Wednesday, I'm feeling like I want to use a dark blue and no photos. That it's specifically chosen based on, analytics, past testing, research, and that, like I was saying in the beginning, so much of my day is spent on psychology and the behavioral sciences behind how humans interact. So I hope that's helpful, at least a little bit.
It is very helpful. I mean, regular listeners to this show will be very interested in getting into the psychological stuff, because that's what we love to study, obviously. And so I was hoping that you could expand on that. How does a copywriter or a marketer start to understand the psychological aspects of design? Where we're used to doing it for a copy perspective, but how do we get those insights from a design perspective?
So I use some technology for that. So I use Hotjar, heat maps, video maps laid on top of a sales page, for example. And then I review the analytics behind that, and I see, if you're familiar with some of these tactics, you'll see bright red and orange
Yeah,
where they
yeah.
hang out a
On your
lot.
heat
And
maps.
then, yeah. So I try that at first so I can understand what is getting this person excited. What are they not even looking at all? And then I formulate a series of tests specifically designed to use that knowledge. So, for example, I realized that for this one report and book giveaway and product, it was kind of like on the investment level, let's say,
Hmm.
for example, I noticed that they kept hanging around by my viewing of these videos around those visuals, like at the beginning. So we decided to go ahead and put a link underneath there after a while, after a little ways down. We don't want to immediately assume they're ready to order.
Yeah.
Obviously, we wouldn't even want them to order. We must invite them in properly at those top 12 critical inches of the online sales campaign.
Yeah.
We must nail them down, duct tape them down, force them down onto the page, and make it so easy to read by the use of our exact copywriting and our font, how large it is, the indents, how far it is away from the wrapper, then those visuals. So we must hold them on enough so that they can trust us. Then when we feel like they know enough about what we're talking about and then they can trust us, then we start feeding them like a little nugget,
Yeah.
here's this book I'm going to offer you. Oh, here's a link here. We've also coded my business partner, Tom Berge, years ago when we were working with Clayton on a huge landslide winner. He coded this drop down right reserve button that you can control when it pops up.
Yeah.
It'll pop up on the bottom of your phone. It'll say reserve now, or yes, I want my hair products, or I want this joint pain relief, whatever it is.
Hmm.
And so we use that in combination of when we mathematically like place these reports with these links. So we have looked then at the statistics and we've noticed, oh, they're hitting here. Oh, they're hitting way down here. Oh, they're waiting to the very bottom. They want to wait and see how many juicy reports they can get, for example. So you just try things so that you can learn that it's not a guessing game anymore. This is,
Mm.
numbers and analytics and technology and thinking behind it. So I'm hoping that makes sense and gives you some ideas
Yeah.
of how to keep, your reader engaged.
Yeah, it does. And I'm loving how scientific this is because a lot of people who I've spoken to who are more on the branding and design side of things, a lot of their stuff is based, on the vision of whoever's in charge, and they think to themselves, "Oh, with my branding guidelines, that means I want this element here and these different colors here." But um, the
Mm,
the way that you've done it is by using the scientific principles, which we love so much. You're
mhm.
using these tools to find out what's actually working with the visitors to these sites.
Yeah, there's no messing around, you know. It's really mandatory that we gain access to as much knowledge as possible and then we use it to our advantage. That is not to say, though, that all the branding and all that past design and the logos and the looks and the colors and the feel,
Mm.
you do have to get into that because, say, for example, I'm working on like a CBD oil from this particular company, and they're known for this, and they have this, 90-day guarantee, and here's those testimonials, and this is the look, and you must like look back at all that is that they're seeing online. What are they seeing in print? When you send them those products in a box, what are the words, the feelings, the look of that welcome kit, for example. Hey, here's your first CBD products, here's your first prostate products, your sex product, whatever it is. Welcome aboard. We can't wait to have this lovely, long, everlasting, lifetime value relationship with you. Here's how we're going to treat you, top notch. So the look and the brand, the guarantee, the service, the customer service, how that person sounds on the phone when they say, hey, we'd love to place your order. Let me, all that adds up. Most companies, it's like, it's kind of embarrassing to say this, Brian, but it's like any relationship. I know you've had relationships in the past, those ones where it's like love at first sight, everything's hunky-dory for a couple of weeks, and then, you like aren't interested anymore, and you don't try hard or whatever. So you have to think like that, and these are your customers. You're inviting them in this way. You're treating them this way. You're showing them these colors, this logo, the stability and trust behind your company. You can't forget about them after they finally click yes. You must keep whining and dining them. What else do they need? Send them a survey, get them on the phone, send them something free. So it's not just one thing, Brian, and that's what most people, they're like, I'm going to pay $25,000. I'm going to get Joe Schmo, the fanciest copywriter in the world. He's going to do it. Yep, we got Lori, she banged it out of the park with this new online sales page. And then, everybody forgets about all the other things. And then you're not going for that big lifetime value. We want to keep them on and sell them again and again and again. And that's probably the biggest tip. It's not this, it's not that. It's
all of it
not
together.
Losing sight of every single way you touch them. The relationship.
It's really interesting. Like if they, so basically, you can put a lot of effort into the design of a front end of a marketing system, but when they get inside and start consuming the stuff and all the different moving parts, if that's not aligned, then they're starting to think, what kind of operation is this? Is they just get me in on the front end with something sexy, but once they've got my money, they're starting to cut corners. So
well, you're absolutely right. It's like shenanigans. Like you can feel it online. Like when you look at 10 different things and then you decide on this one product, maybe you need new jeans or something, so you look and you're looking for price, but you want them to last a long time, and so you look at all this fancy stuff and then you decide, well, if they come and the bag is ripped and then they don't look very good and they're way bigger, or then it's going to be like, not only am I turning them back in, I want my money back, but I'm never going to order the sweatshirt or the shoes or anything else from you. So most people are doing that. Like I see people working on projects and we'll do this huge winner. The copy is right. It's resonating. Behavioral science has been put into place, the perfect price. Then I'll find out it's winning like crazy. And then later we'll find out, like, wait a minute. After people get their thing in the mail and then they start reading these reports or taking this vitamin or something like that, then I'll investigate deeper and I'll be like, oh, that free book you were offering and they were so excited to get, it comes in this beat up old container, and then there's some sorry written letter. Nobody thought about the letter. They're just like, yep, we got the sale. We're just gonna, yep, here it is. It's one page. It's kind of crinkled. So I asked to see things like that. And I'm like, so like disappointed. So I'm not different than anybody else. Like, you're disappointing people after you spend all that money and time and effort. So just clean up your act and make sure it is, just like you said, everything has to align. If you're known for your top-notch knowledge and editorial finesse, you best be getting your editorial people in shape and make sure they perform and they're doing things professionally. If you're known for your aloe so-and-so thing that's in your supplement, you better make sure that when it arrives, it looks this way, it does react this way. You send some testimonials along, you get in touch with them again. You say, so people are only doing like 8% of the whole thing, and they're thinking, we got this great winner, and they're just ruining the chances of their company growth. So it's really a much bigger, better process if you look at the whole big picture, I believe. And so that's kind of what sets us, and my thinking and strategies and my agency apart, I believe, is that we don't just fix that one tagline. We look at the whole big picture, if that makes sense.
It does, because we have the same battle when we're creating marketing ecosystems. Everyone wants to have a sexy front end and the all the funnels and click funnels and everything, but what they're doing is they're paying for all this traffic, and they're doing the most expensive parts and getting a customer on the front end, but dropping the ball when it comes to marketing on the back end. And that once you've got that customer, that's your asset to grow and nurture. And it's not just about the copy and the marketing systems on the back end. It's about the whole experience, which is what you're talking about.
Yeah. And these are people, like, I think what's happened is, like, a million years ago, our grandparents, like, they would go to the store, they would see somebody there, they would ask for something, that person would smile at them, they would answer their questions, they would show them 3 things. My grandpa probably picked one, then he bought it, and then my grandpa would go back in the store, see the person, they'd say, like, hey, how did that cold medicine work, or whatever. And so it's the same thing, but now we can't see anybody, and it's so sterile, and it's online, but you still have to think about, like, that is really still happening emotionally. So you have to find, like, interesting and creative strategies and tactics to make somebody still feel just like that. If you could put that in your mind when you're working on either the copy, the offer, the email, whatever it is, and remember, there's a person. You must touch them. You must make them fall in love with you, stay in love with you, and want to keep ordering or saying yes. Like, I think that'll be a game changer for a lot of people if they just wake up every morning and address all of this that they do, whatever part it is, differently.
Yeah. Someone who I've noticed is good at that, and this is an interesting niche. There's a guy named Travis, I don't know his last name, but he has a business called Fight Smart, which is like boxing training and mixed martial arts training. And I've bought some of his products, and I've been watching the videos, and his whole personality shines through on the back end as well. And his copy and his systems are really designed to carry that through and really be quite personal on the back end as well, So he's one who does it.
I would love that link, and I would love to meet him too. And if you interview him, I would love to get a copy of that.
Yeah, I'll try to interview him, because his personality really shines through in his email copy as well. So it's quite interesting.
That's really, I believe, what's gonna separate the boys from the men, if you will. And whether I'm working on a finance package or a supplement or beauty or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I'm constantly researching in the background. Like, I just ordered from the Harvest place. It's of course, I can't think of it now that I'm on our call, but it's like a healthy harvest. It's something that is shown on Instagram. There's a video. You just put all these ingredients that are organic in this exact cup. You add like almond milk and you blend it up, and you're good to go for the whole day. Like, so I order people's items. I review them on Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. Then I get their packages and I review them and see, like, what made me click yes. It's pretty expensive, but it's amazing. And it's been about a month now, and they've treated me like their own best friend and superstar every step of the way. I got the app. I know when my products are coming. Everything looked good. So it matters. Like they could
Yeah.
have dropped the ball, like a lot of the people I work with, and that's why I'm there to help them. But every single step of the way, they're surprising me. It's exciting. I like think about them. So I don't know. That might help.
Get me the link later on. I'll post it up in the resources, because that's a really interesting one for people to go and study as well. Companies who care enough to continue all this stuff through to the back end, because it's so easy to, like I was saying, design a sexy front end, but it's so cool that you mentioned that these are real people, because that's what we often forget about, especially once we get them as a customer. This is a question that people can ask themselves: am I treating my customers well enough, or do I just take them for granted now that they've given me money?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And it makes you wonder. And if it makes you wonder, it's daily harvest. I'm sorry. And how
That's
silly
fine.
of me, because you drink it daily, but it makes you wonder. It makes you scratch your head. It makes you say, like, wait a minute, I'm starting to feel some red flags. Like they said this person was going to give me this, and then I was going to learn how to do this. And boy, I feel disappointed right about now.
Yeah.
And they feel that. And people that I work with, a lot of times they just don't want to be honest with themselves. I will ask these point blank questions in our meetings, and I'll say, like, well, how did you treat them, and how did they like that, and what did they do when they responded to this, or when you twisted that headline around and it was more like this. And those are all the things that we must stay on top of now. It matters. And I can go to 50 different places to buy that fancy new pair of shoes I want to wear to that party, and in the end they'll probably all bubble down to be kind of the same price and this and that. But am I right? Like, how you treat me, it really does matter these days.
Yeah. I think it's often a case of biting off more than we can chew, because especially when we know marketing, and if we know copywriting, or if we have a good copywriter working on the front end, we make all these claims, and it sounds great, and we think we'll make these claims, and we'll just back them up later when we deliver the product. But I think you often walk a fine line there as to what you expect that you'll be able to provide on the back end in regards to the claims that you're making, and you sometimes end up just hoping that that people are not too disappointed, and that is
it's funny.
That is a path fraught with danger that we often walk in business, and it's how people go out of business, I think, sometimes.
Oh, definitely. Like trying to cut corners and be cheap about something and not think it through and pretend like no one's gonna notice. You're just fooling yourself. Like pretend like it's your grandma, pretend it's your best friend, your mom. How would you treat them? Like, would you really do that, or not provide that, or not apologize if you were late? Or I think people have gotten lazy and are forgetting. Again, I think I'll say it again, like, so you can't see them. So all the coder is doing, or the designer or the copywriter, whatever, they're just doing this stuff all on their computer, right? So they're just doing it. You're just dialing it in. A lot of things I get, I'm like, okay, I've seen this before. There's absolutely no feeling involved in this. And you're just cookie cuttering, you're templating, why even bother? You're wasting all this time and money and effort. And really, if you just took a step closer and remembered that these are real people and they have desires and needs, and that's
Yeah.
why they want to buy your product, that I bet you could skyrocket sales if you just took a couple seconds and instead of turning left, you went down the right-hand path.
Mm, mm, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So, what are some steps that people can take if they think that if somebody has a business and they think that that uh, the customers might not be overjoyed with things that are happening, with
Yeah.
regards to some of what we've been talking about. What are some of the steps that they can take to sort of start looking
Mm,
into this and start fixing it up?
yeah. So what you could do is you want to always be in touch with like your customer service department and get feedback from them all the time. It could be little teeny things like, hey, I've heard 4 customers say that third report was missing or something. Wait a minute, can we get somebody to look at that? So I don't know if there's like an 800 number to call, and
Mm,
then most of the orders are taken on phone. For example, you could talk directly to that person, have a nice conversation, and just find out, hey, what are these people saying? Are they saying nice things? Is it easy to upsell them, cross sell them on the phone? What's going on with these people? And then have them get in touch with you. For example, Brian, this might be helpful. Hey, if you guys need, or if you experience or know or see something that's changing, can you let us know? And you can also look at sales and orders. All of a sudden, are people not ordering and, saying yes? Maybe you just did this new campaign, and the new campaign, it got so many orders, but like 3 weeks later, every people were canceling left and right. Like, really stop and just take a minute and look at those items. I think, what happens with all of us, everybody gets so darn busy and they're moving so fast. Every day we wake up and we want to look deeper at things, or we want to reach out and find out and investigate, the analytics, the statistics, or whatever, but then a big problem comes up or whatever. So maybe just mark off some time every day to look into things, get a reading and a feeling of how people are. And also, I always tell people, I take a test drive of a lot of things all day, every day. I try things out. I try to become the customer. I try the order form and mail it back in. Like
mm,
that.
yeah.
So just become your customer. I try to meet my customer out in the good old USA. I find them at places I go, and I seek them out in a restaurant. I watch them. I really get to be very, intimate. I try to really surround myself with those types of people that I'm trying to sell to, so I understand.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know if those are helpful
Yeah.
tips. But,
Yeah. They are. They
digging
are.
deep.
Mm,
Yeah, digging deep with all this, and just remember that it all matters and not to cut corners. And there's a variety of ways to try to do things. And you just really, one thing that works for this company, if you have the same kind of company but a little different twist, it just might not work for them. And one thing people do is they'll just get stuck on something and they think that it's going to work forever like that. And things are changing so fast, as you know,
yeah.
that I just keep my eye on the ball at all times.
Yeah. And you have to. And this is the problem that I think a lot of people entrepreneurs who have come up in recent times have come across, because they just want to, they've drunk the Kool-Aid of having this hands-free business, and they, having assistance on the front end, and but the reality is that what we're talking about here is like actual work, and that's why it's sometimes not done to the extent where it should be, because we all do get busy, but I think what the steps that you've covered here are so valuable. I think they should be done by everyone. Some of them, some of them are in place at companies like Mindvalley, which I was working at when we first met.
Yeah.
So they've got some of these steps in, for especially the communication with the customer service people.
Yeah.
So they do some of it, and they've seen some real benefits too.
Just really reaching out and touching them, and you did stumble across, like, I think a huge point. Like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, everybody was like making these courses and things you could listen to. It's like, yeah, you can have your own company. You only have to work like one day a week, 4 days, 4 hours a week. You never have. And I mean, come on, it's like snake oil. I mean, you have to be on top of all of this, and it takes a lot of hard work and diligence. And truly, if you're considering starting a product launch or considering trying to sell, services and things to other people, it really is 24/7. It's a lifetime. You must, just be right in there next to them at all times, and learning and studying and growing. Like about an hour or more each day, I have to block off just quiet time to read, study, investigate, learn. It's technology, it's new processes, it's looking in psychological behavior patterns, testing out colors. So you can't just wing any of this. I mean, I'm sorry to break that bubble to everybody, but come on. So it's like I can drink this one drink tonight and tomorrow I'll lose 50 pounds. Everybody knows that's not true. So stay on top of it. And I know people can definitely kick some of these things into place. I will give you maybe like that 3-step copy review. That might be helpful for people to kind of just try out, see if it works for them when reviewing copy. And then anything else that's helpful with some of these processes. I can even give you a list of, like, I have just books everywhere in the studio and stacked up. Like, I'm glad you can't see it, but I'm constantly reviewing things and talking with people and trying to investigate what might work next. So I could give you that list as well of what I'm reading.
I'd love that. And if people are listening on iTunes, they can go to the geniusesofcopy.com website and download these from your episodes. So
that sounds good. And I don't think, Brian, we ever got to say this one thing that I think is so important to you and I think we talked about this when we were together, and that is, like, no matter what has transpired or what has changed, like, copy is always king. It always will be, and design is queen. But that design, or the visualness, or the choices and the feelings, that's really going up there on the top of the ladder these days. And now more than ever, you really have to be on point and in tune with that. So those two, just like I said in the beginning, it's a marriage. It's the copy, the design, the visualness, and the marketing. All those, that cluster there, it really has to align, or immediately these people are smart out there. They're going to feel it and sense it and hop off or not say yes. And you have the ability and the control to win that money if you just systematically and formulaically do what you need to do. And it does work out every single time. It just has to align. So That's like my favorite thing to think about during the day.
Yeah, yeah. You've got to do all that because one of the magic pills that people have been sold is like I was saying before, these hands-free businesses. But you know, when you're wanting to set up a serious company and really scale that up, you need to think about all this stuff and you need to take action on it as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm loving
You're
these action steps.
absolutely,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So if you're listening on iTunes, definitely go to geniusesofcopywriting.com and uh, look for Laurie's episode, and I'll put these PDFs for everyone to download, and they're going to be very valuable. So I really appreciate that.
No, that sounds good. And also, Brian, if anybody sends you an email or a question or anything, um, you know, besides doing all these exciting things every day, and you probably feel this and know this about me already, but I love to reach out to other people, give them anything I can think of that'll help them. I feel so grateful every day to have found this passion in my life and be able to do something I really love and help a lot of
Yeah.
people every day, whether it's like giving them retirement investment advice, something to help them feel better, repair their memory. So let me know, if somebody
Yeah.
has a
Yeah.
question, a situation, and I'm here to help always and see if you can make a good go of it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love to refer people to good people like that um, and connect them that way. So I'll definitely do that. And people,
Yeah.
people can get in touch with me through the podcast, and I can make the introductions. And I think some people will do that because the checklist and the PDFs that they're going to download from your episode at geniusesofcopywriting.com will be a first step for that introduction, and
Mhm.
it's so refreshing to find entrepreneurs who are willing to deal direct with people, and instead of putting them through a 50-part autoresponder sequence, and they have to wait 3 months before they can book a call. And so
Yeah.
it's really different to find successful people who still know that they can take time out of that day, take time out of their day to actually deal with real people as other human beings, instead of all this positioning stuff, which is what we've been talking about this whole time, that people are real live people. That's who your customers are. They're not just numbers on a spreadsheet.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I will key in after we're done, or I'll email you a couple other sites I follow, and I'll send you a couple other notes, and that might be helpful to
Yeah,
for people to experience
for
these
sure.
the way you're treated so nicely. And
Yeah.
no, so I really, really enjoy my time together with you. And are there any other questions like that have maybe come up, or something that you're thinking on that I can answer?
I think you've covered quite a lot on the call here today for people to think about, and take action on. That's really the next steps. So what you've
Yeah.
covered is very valuable. I mean, uh, uh, I think there's a lot of work to be done by people just on what we've covered alone. So
Right.
the value that you provided for us here today, the insights on how we can go take our customer journeys to the next level is very valuable. So yeah, it's a great start for anyone, and I think that this has been one of the more valuable episodes on the show that we've done so far. So I really appreciate you coming on and taking out time to
Ah,
help us out with these insights.
it was lovely. It's so good to hear your voice again, and I'm so tickled for you. And good luck to everybody. And thank you again, Brian. I just really enjoyed myself. It was simply my pleasure.
Yeah, well, it's a privilege and an honor to have you on the show, Laurie. So it's been very valuable for me as well. So I've got a page full of notes here that I'll be taking action on, And I'll look forward to seeing you again soon. And thanks for your time here today.
Okay, take care. Bye now.
You.
Thank you for listening to Geniuses of Copywriting with Brian Casangina. To get the full transcript and all the resources mentioned on today's show, go to www.geniusesofcopywriting.com now.